So I thought to myself, I can only do this interview justice.
I respect that. Yo, I didn't tell nobody this. ATK will tell you if you ask him. I didn't have a suit going into the show. So I had to go pick one up at H&M.
Oh.
And them sizes are different. So I went and got, I used to be a 32, 34, right? I thought, I knew I got a little bigger. So I was like, let me get a 34, 34. So I feel comfortable.
Yes, sir.
Man, when I tell you my pants were so tight, ATK was like, yo, bad type, just tucking your shirt a little more. I said, bro, I need this out a little bit or else they're going to see the muffin top. I was so uncomfortable.
I need breathing room.
I couldn't breathe. Like, I pulled off the pants at the end of the day and I had like that line where like your pants just in debt. Like I really think it affected my performance in a way because I couldn't move. I couldn't bend down.
You got some airflow problems?
Yeah, Millen's like, Joe, you got to go up there and gauge. I said, Millen, I don't know if I can walk. Like, I might step up there and rip my pants. But yeah,
beautiful.
I do still have the suit. I'm taking it back this weekend or tomorrow. But yeah, the look was good, but the feeling was not.
We did it for the aesthetic. That's all we get.
That was literally it because I was ready to be done. Actually, when I went to the car, I had unbuckled my belt and my top button, and I was just in the car with like my pants just unbuttoned, just like I need to breathe. Exactly like that.
I love it. No, that's amazing. That's beautiful. Okay, I started recording when we picked up the call, so I have that amazing story.
Oh my God, you can keep it in. You can keep it in. I
am keeping it in.
I'll lose my fitness demographic, but you know I can recover that back.
Your Planet Fitness demo is just going down.
Good brolic out there.
All right, 3, 2, 1. We have Bad Type on for today. A special episode, in my opinion. This is someone.
Yes, sir.
First of all, always wanted you on. That's a given. There's a ton of people on my list, but you're definitely on it. And after the ATK interview, I'm basically just going to go through Three Kings. Next one, Sir Darius. I'm figuring it out.
Well, I remember when you were talking about doing the podcast, even like at the early in the year. I was interested back then too. So I've low-key been waiting because I think you've been talking about this podcast and like working on it for quite a while now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what you're doing right now is giving a voice and a platform to artists who don't have that until they get like a major deal or until they get like a lot of people just in the day to day don't have a chance to sit and talk about their music to anyone but themselves and their friends. So this is not just for this community, but in the grand scheme, this is a really, really cool thing you're doing.
For sure. And we talked about it too. I think you're the fourth guest that I brought this up to, but basically this is free media training for anyone who hasn't gotten it yet.
Exactly.
Doing this podcast, I'm just prepping people for what's inevitably going to happen in the future with interviews, whether it's magazine or like this. So again, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Happy to hear that people like this as much as I do. But opening question, as always, how are you?
I'm doing really good. I always 3-prong my approach into how I'm feeling. Like work-wise, I'm super happy. I actually just accepted a job offer for a substantially higher rate than I make right now. Like enough to where I'm looking at like, you know, planning future shit like houses and stuff. And then musically you get kind of despondent in between those big moments. But I feel like the concert really gave me a pick me up. We just did the KBD tape, which is a big one. And I sat down and I looked back in my year and I was like, man, every single musical goal I had set for myself was accomplished with the ATK show at the very end. Cause doing a live show was my last one.
Yes, sir.
And then just personally, I'm happy. I live in a nice spot. I got a new kitten, new cat. He's a shit, but I love him. And my girlfriend's healthy and I love her. So life is looking really good. You know,
beautiful.
I just wouldn't mind an extra $500,000 or something.
Hey, yo. And speaking of the ATK concert, you just mentioned it briefly with the whole wardrobe situation, but how was it?
It was really, really fantastic. I learned a lot, and that was the big thing. I used to do live performance actually all the time. I would have 4 or 5 performances a month when I was in college, but they were all cover based. And after the pandemic, I lost a lot of what made my performances special. So this was a big first step because this is the first live performance of my own music I've done in front of a crowd. And, you know, the support is good, but I'm always the type of artist and person who's going to tune out a lot of the positive feedback, which is not the best thing for my mental health, but I focused a lot on what I could learn from this one. And there are some things I got to go back in the chamber and work on. And I pretty much want to make sure that next time we do this, like I can really give a standout performance. But other than that, the songs went over really, really well. Like people were hearing the tracks and the hook and they were getting into it. So this was like, as far as a first step could go, one of the best things I could hope for.
Beautiful. And that was one of my questions. You already answered it, but how it differed from your previous performances. Because I remember when you first joined, you posted some videos and I was like, who is this person in the pink polo? But now seeing you go from covers, which again, it's an interpretation of how you sing it, to then this is my melodies and my lyrics that I can channel it and get way more out of it. Do your songs feel different now? Now you know how it's supposed to be performed or how you perform them.
But one, the pink polo was actually a romp hymn, like a male romper, because that was our theme for the concert. But yeah, no, it's been, I don't know, it's just been really validating to go somewhere and sing your songs and people like them, and to be able to, even at the performance itself, like Millen, I've performed with Millen almost all my life. I've been performing like at least the past 5-6 years. So I know what Millen does, and I know when you show up, like what he's gonna do. Mm-hmm. But ATK was live what Millen is live when singing, but with rap. Mm-hmm. So the way Millen, when he's live, he's gonna hit every note. He's gonna hit all the runs. He's gonna scat and come up with some stuff at the last minute that's gonna be crazy. ATK has this physicality and this energy at the same time of knowing their lyrics, at the same time of having really intentional deliveries at certain point in their verse, that if you ever get the chance to see them live, let alone perform with them, practice with them, there's a lot of things you can learn. And I feel like also people won't really get that when they start doing that, because ATK is also going to make a lot of people feel bad about themselves. Like I see him booking an opening with an artist and that artist having beef with him because he smoked him. Like that's how nice he is live. I know the video showed it a bit, but it's different.
Yeah, I caught the video a bit because there's some, bless her soul, some auntie that just every post on her Instagram was just an 11-minute clip from the concert. So I caught the whole thing, and you're right. I mean, of course, one part of it, seeing people who are a bit more experienced in the performing your own music versus your background experience of covers, but also just seeing how now you have to stand with someone and you can see visually the difference in energy. So for you, has this sort of become like, okay, you see some standards now, or you see some here, and the next time I should probably do it like this?
Yeah, so the big thing for me, because performance, like the other thing going into that performance is I know I talked to you about it before, but I didn't have a voice leading up to the week before. So I gave myself a lot of leeway on my vocal performance. So a lot of what stuck out to me was physical. So I realized that, and all joking aside, partially could have been because of what I was wearing and me feeling tight and restrained, but I wasn't open physically. Mm-hmm. Like I wasn't open to doing things. I had to have things planned out. And that wasn't how it was for me in the past. And when I watched ATK, I saw what people would tell me when I was performing in my, I feel old when I say this, but in my heyday, where they would go like, oh my God, you're crazy. Like you engage here and here, you just do shit. ATK, one big thing he does is he's really focused on crowd engagement. Like you won't see this in the videos, but in between the sets, he was going up to me and Millen saying, hey, go introduce yourself to everybody in the audience. Go shake everybody's hand. He would say, go talk to the DJ for a second. Like it's not just, crowd engagement isn't just, being loud and being hype. He would do stuff like he would bring it down, but he would bring it down to one person because one person would know all the words to the song, and he would sit there and just spit to them for a second, and the crowd's locked in on that moment. And then he'd break out and just, burst into activity. So there's things that I saw that I understood and I even knew how to do, but I hadn't seen it done in practice in so long that it was almost like it was like a memory being jogged. So definitely for me in particular, watching his performance, I was studying a lot. It wasn't just really me sitting and watching and enjoying the songs. It was me learning a lot. And like I said with Millen, I've seen Millen perform for almost half a decade, more than half a decade. So for him, it's less learning. It's more like, this is my guy. I'm just going to vibe and see what he's doing. But with ATK, it was a real study and like performance.
There's something about seeing three people like y'all and having only known you online and having only known you by screen names and all that different stuff, and then seeing you perform. There's such a difference in how you're perceived after the fact, because normally you view a person and you go, okay, they make some music, they also have school, but once you see them on stage, then it's, oh, this is a performer. You see it truly through the way they behave, through those choices. And for you, especially leading into Discord talk, when you joined this Discord, it wasn't Bad Type Music, it was Bad Type Beats. So there was a change.
Yeah, I joined the Discord as Bad Type Beats. I always say in the Discord, I put out my first music when I joined Discord. I did try before that, like one song, and I was under the name J Michael, and it was really bad. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make beats. So I had a push 2. I was like, fuck it, I'm going to try and make beats. Join the server. And I think what you said earlier is very important about seeing someone perform, seeing someone in the moment versus hearing the song. What got me to change over to Bad Type Music was I was trying to learn beat stuff, and I was sitting in a sub chat, and a couple Discord members at the time were playing a beat. And I started listening to it to try and learn about production, but it turned into me just really vibing with the song. And I started singing live and I started rapping live in the Discord chat. And they said, yo, we'll just send this on to you. And that's sort of what made me realize, okay, I know you doubted yourself because you were trying to do everything by yourself. You tried to make the beat, you tried to mix it, you tried to record it and write it all yourself, and it wasn't hitting. The Discord was what made me realize that what I was missing wasn't necessarily on the artist side of things. I was really missing in the production, because my production was nowhere up to the standard of my performances or my writing. And so I had this weird dysmorphia, this weird disconnect between how bad the beats were and how good the writing and performances were. And when I got to the Discord, that really changed, because I started getting beats from people who I felt like, and it sounds arrogant to say, but I felt like they were as good, if not better, at making beats than I was at the other part of it, of the top line and writing and stuff like that. So it was a real meeting, as opposed to me compromising in some places on my writing because the beat couldn't support what I was trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now let's talk about those early connections, because you mentioned sub chat and going and listening to people's beats. In those early stages, were there people where you like, okay, this is the first person I feel like has sort of transcended that feeling that a lot of people I see have, which is these are people online to, oh, this is Timber or this is whoever, and I can talk to them on all that stuff?
Timber very early on was someone that I was like, oh my God, this person's crazy. Because Timber already had Timber's the kind of artist and person who is so genuine and so nice, and he's so consistent that when he walks in, no matter what server you're in, if you go to a Discord server that Timber's on, everyone knows who Timber is. So he was already like, okay, that's like a goal to shoot for. In the immediate, we don't work together too often now, but a producer by the name of Raul Slav, they were really, really like, they were the first ones to send me a beat and get me going. Like even Slow Down, there was, complications in the back end with the production on that, but Slow Down was originally the first song I wrote when I came into Discord that was over the Slav beat, but the person they collab with, they sort of had a falling out. Early on, like I had heard a bit of your music from, I think at the time you had one tape out. I can't remember the exact name of it. It was the one Discord people who I love a lot. That was the one I listened through and I enjoyed that. And so you were the first person that had me thinking there's also artists here to really look at, because I was just coming from the perspective of looking for producers. And then other than that, I didn't get to know too many people in the Discord until around the time when Call said, hey, hop into the Christmas album. Before the Christmas album, I didn't know Ali. I didn't know about Shane. I'd never heard Keegan. I hadn't heard Marv yet. I didn't hear Della. I didn't hear anybody at all. But then when that album happened, that's when I really got introduced to, I call them the Killers. I got introduced to the Killers on the server, where like the people that you're thinking like if the right person hears them, they're signed. You know what I mean?
That was also a little bit of Bad Type lore for me, because I thought you had some songs going, but Christmas album, and that Christmas album, let's just talk about that real quick. The Christmas album is probably the first time I have been literally annoyed at someone's level of work. it was to the point of, listen, I love you, what you're doing is great, but can you chill? And it was all for a good reason, because you were like killing it. You were doing like so many songs. Even on the end of the tape, you still got 4 or 5 songs on the entire tape. That level of hard work was like new to all of us, because we all knew that, you know, like, oh, it's the tape, whatever, focus on one song, get your banger, get out. But you took it as, I am here to do 50 songs front to back.
Yeah. I've been writing music. Like, I've been writing poetry, writing raps. I actually was a spoken word poet in middle school on the PG circuit. Like, I was writing since middle school, but I never had anyone to work with. I never had a beat I could work with. And like I also mentioned to you before, I wasn't making music going into the Christmas album. I had the one song, Slow Down, which was almost done, but I just got in off of that. When I got in there and I was hearing the beats I was hearing, and I was hearing the stuff I was hearing, that's like you put a starving man in a buffet. Like, I became conscious of it, I think, after a weekend when I was like 7 to 10 songs or 7 to 10 verses in, and I was like, all right, you're doing a little much now. But like it was just a matter of my workflow in general. I've sort of started to figure it out to where I can keep it quick, but beyond the workflow, it was all inspiration based. Like, I just would hear something, I'd write to it, and then I'd go back to the chat to drop it in. Someone else would have another beat, and I'd be like, let me just hear this beat and then get off. Like, you remember, I would type and say, I'm done for the day. Like, that's it. I'm chilling on the tape.
You clocked out. That was hard as shit. I loved it.
And then I would put like 5 other songs in right after saying that, because like I would be trying to leave. And it's like when you're trying to leave the function and the DJ plays the song you like I would just go back. So that was also y'all fault. I'm gonna put the blame on y'all for that one, because y'all were doing crazy shit. I was trying to get on.
We were too good. We were way too good.
I tried to get on wish list, but even then that shit was done. I was like, I can't make them put another verse on here. Let me close my computer for the day.
Beautiful. Give me a second.
Mm-hmm.
But those early moments of like people seeing you go like Bad Type mode, that came with, as you said, you hadn't met Ali, you hadn't met Shane and all these people. After the Christmas tape, what I think a lot of people noticed was you had those mainstay collaborators.
Yeah, a lot of it was, I look for 2 things really in main collaboration, especially in production. I look for just uniqueness. So someone who can make a unique, good product. And so that's where, like, you know, Ali, Shane, Coles, Taryn, Beal actually is a case of this, but I met Beal a lot later. That's what really called out to me. And then the second thing, is I'm really big on sending a lot of vocal layers. I care a lot about how my vocals are treated. And so if you're a producer who can not only mix the vocals, but can also like do real vocal production, I'm always going to be happy to send something your way, to the point now where like I'll do a song with someone else because I like the beat, but I'll tell them I can't do the song unless I can send the vocals to Ali. Like, and I'm working now on trying to get to the point where I can process everything myself. But you know, because you're such a phenom with how you do vocal production, especially with your work in Harmony Engine and things like that, to where, you know, like sometimes people really don't necessarily nail it. Like you'll send them the Vox and it's aligned halfway off, or you'll send them the stuff and they squash all your layers. Like I spent 30 minutes recording 20 layers for this. You're not going to like just smash them all under one track and then drop them down. No, we're going to bump those up a little bit. But those are the people who really called out. And then artist wise, you know, Keegan and Della and I, we still we have a group chat right now where we got 2 songs in the works with with Shane, but we got stuff coming with that because Della just is he reminds me of me in terms of his writing, but his voice is different enough to where when we come on a track together, you have 2 clear points to where you get the bad type, you get the Della, you get 2 different textures, but the content and the quality is on the same level. And Keegan is Keegan. Like, Keegan's someone who I can work with and I don't have to sing. I can just rap. That's a big deal for me. Sometimes I get on a track and I can't help but sing because I feel like a certain section needs a certain point. With Keegan, his vocals just fill the track so much that I feel really comfortable hopping in and just coloring in the spaces in between. So he's another person I really, really love collaborating with.
But as you said, again, you have those group chats and all that different stuff. Slow Down. We already talked about that track, but now again, you showed some love to ATK earlier, but also Sir Darius, because Three Kings, again,
oh my goodness,
highly anticipated, all that different stuff. We talked about it in the ATK interview of his perspective on it, but your perspective as someone who's also, again, new to all this online collaboration, but also relatively close physically to all these people.
Yeah. So, and I'll speak first on like just how I got to know CJ. He was actually in the Discord sub chat. He had just joined. This is before the anniversary album. And he was like, hey, I really want to take part in one of the KBD tapes. I just don't know how to approach it. And so I said, yo, hit me up. He talked to me, sent me some of his stuff. I sent it over to Coles and said, yo, Coles, add this guy. So he got in on the tape, did a fantastic track with Foolie and Shane. I think it's Vibration. But when I heard that track, I know when Kenny played it on stream, he was talking about how the bars were horny or something like that. But he has a certain vocal texture and quality that you don't really get in a lot of Discord rappers specifically. Discord rap is normally either really like drill, scammy type rap, hyper pop, or they're going way too lyrical, spiritual. So with CJ, he had this good blend of like, he reminded me, like, he just gives me this calm perspective, but there's this like intensity underneath it, and his vocal texture is crazy. So I had already, worked with him on that. And then around the same time, we were doing SVS. Because I remember both albums came out around the same time. And SVS is where I got to meet ATK. Because we started working on some of the stuff there. And working with him was the same thing, but on the other end of the spectrum, where I was like, this guy's giving me like everything I need on the upper end of rapping, right? Like CJ had the low end, like the bass, ATK is like the tenor, the alto, and then I come in with the baritone. In my mind, that's how I saw it. And so seeing these two, I reached out. I was like, hey, let's do something together. Let's just do a song. And we did a song, and the song went super, super, super well. And we just kept going from there. We kept adding stuff in. And then at that point, we were like, all right, we have 4 or 5 songs right now. Let's just lock this out and do an album. And the name came a little bit later, but since then it's just been rocking. And we're actually, I finished up another tape recently, so now I have time, but we're actually in the ending phases of that project. Really, it's just us all getting to the point where with our tracking to where we feel like it's ready to go. And then we're moving right into mixing, right into cover art, and we're trying to get visuals and stuff together. But those two in particular are something special. And I think if we nail it with this project, that it won't be the last time you hear from the Three Kings.
Let's go.
Yeah,
let's go.
Something. Oh, and I got to meet CJ out in LA too. That was crazy. But
I was about to mention it.
Yeah, I'll let you get into it.
No, because another thing that as we get more people on, that I always want to bring up, especially for the people that have, is the LA meetup, because that is still an iconic moment for me, seeing you, Luke, and just a ton of people together, like in a studio, which again, like we've been in studios in VCs, but this is different.
Yeah.
And I remember Luke describing when you came in, it was like, yeah, he would just go in and he would just lay down melodies one after one, perfect and everything. And I was like, yeah, it is different when you hear about it like in the studio and all that different stuff. But talk about that meetup, because it's relatively new people that you've met, but now it's like, now we're in together.
Yeah, it was one, the meetup was really, really a lot of fun. Shout out to everyone who put that together, especially Ty, especially Sloza for letting us use the space. But when you meet people that you've been working on Discord music with for a while, you know, on Discord you say friend, you say everything, like you say we're homies, all that stuff. But when you get in person, like me personally, I'm an extrovert, but I can be introverted a lot in new settings. And so I was nervous going in. But once we got to the music, that was our shared language. And then from the music, we got to get into other parts of what makes us compatible just as a friend group. Like, because I feel like that's a friend group, not just a collective. But I came in heated because we had rental car problems. And I remember that first day we smoked so much, so much. I don't think we got much done that first day, but Sloza's space is so good, and I'm so used to having to track and do all the minute engineering stuff myself when I record, that I was able to get a lot expressively done. And it was also nice to know that I could lay harmonies the way I do at home in the studio without nerves, because a studio, when you have a bunch of people, is almost like another performance. Like, you can see how people are reacting to what you're doing. And I remember one moment in particular, we were doing a song called Waves that should be coming out. We have a video film for it. But I got to a point where I wanted these harmonies, but I didn't know if I wanted to ask Sloza to do the labor required to, like, you know, track everything out. And she sort of just said, "Bad Type, this is what I do professionally. Just do it." And I laid everything out. And that trip sold me on the idea of the studio. Like, I love my little home desk with my little MXL and my Focusrite, but it had me really looking locally to see what I could do studio wise, and just seeing other people. Kira is crazy. CJ, so Derek, he came in. CJ, oh my God. CJ walked in the studio, listened to the beat, nodded his head for a little bit, walked outside for like 10 minutes, walked back inside, tracked the whole verse, and then walk back out. And I'm just sitting there like, bro, what? And so now I'm also competitive. So I'm like, no, now I got to go snap. And so that's when I went in and did my crazy shit with the harmonies. And it got to the point where, like, CJ was sitting in the booth while I was tracking on the couch. And then I would sit on the couch while he was tracking, just because, like, that shit, like, I know I love everyone there, but if I get the chance to just be in a studio with, like, just me, CJ, and ATK with, like, a producer, it would be something incredible. I think we could actually probably knock out an album in a day if we were to sit all three of us in a studio.
I believe it 100%. And again, locally, Be More, ATK's there. You mentioned, I think, a couple of times that you're like close to a lot of these artists. So working locally, I mean, you did it with Millen and ATK for the concert, but local artists, are there any where you've, like, reached out and met up?
I haven't met up with many yet. ATK was actually the first Discord artist who's on the East Coast that I've met up with. I actually did the LA meetups first before I met with anyone from the Discord who's in Maryland. Because, you know, I had to find that. I still am trying to find the value in that in-person link, and I'm starting to get that back again. Millen's someone who, you know, Millen's a personal friend. Like, I've known Millen since freshman year of college. But people like, you know, I know C-Dub is out here, and I do really want to link up with him. I know that Nia's out here. Nia's actually from my hometown in PG. So I do want to eventually do something with Nia out here. We've got, there's a couple. Cinnamon's out here, I know as well. Black Norma is actually out here. I'm working on a Norma beat right now. So once I finish that, I'm gonna hit him up and see if we can link up. But once, you know, funds permit, I really want to get all the people in Maryland on this Discord that I really, really fuck with and bring them into a studio in the city. Because just off that list, that's ATK, Nia, Millen, Norma, C-Dub, and Della said he would come down for like one session, for a whole studio session. Like, that's a crazy session to have. And so there's a part of me in my back of my head that really wants to almost bring everyone who's here together, because Maryland doesn't have a lot in terms of, you know, representation outside of like Wale and Logic, really, and Rico Nasty now. So I'm trying to get and see if maybe this is a matter of just something needing to be created, and trying to see if maybe I can make that for Maryland, make that team that represents Maryland in a way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. I love it. Same energy as what ATK was talking about, what he wanted to do with his stuff. It's like, yeah, a lot of y'all, I'm genuinely proud of all y'all, just seeing your local scene and going like, wait, but I've had this energy from just meeting a new person every day and making stuff. Like, why don't I bring that energy here and start it here locally?
And on that note, like even mentioning what ATK starting, a big thing I've started to realize with Maryland artists is because we have to be so independent. Like you don't have OGs in Maryland who will tell you, who will get you in a room, who will get you on the radio. You don't. You have to either find someone from New York who really likes you or someone from Atlanta who really likes you and will put on for you in your state. So a lot of people who come up here with that vision, they're all real leaders. So to create something like that, the challenge is, excuse me, I couldn't do it Wu-Tang style. I couldn't bring these people in and be like, I need 5 years of your life. I couldn't do that. It would have to be like a bringing together of several different organizations. Like I would never want ATK to give up with Who Knew to come work and do a collective with me and focus solely on that. What I would love to do is be able to take a Maryland show, have Who Knew there, have The Worst there, which is what I would like to call it out here, have, all these different subgroups together and bringing that together. Because I think even C-Dub, like you talk to CW and he's got, he does visual arts, he does mixing, he does production, he does performance. He's a great A&R if you've ever had him just give you feedback and help you work out what a track needs or doesn't need. Like, I think there's a lot of leaders out here. And I would really like to see what happens if we bring that round table together and see what comes out of it.
Mm-hmm. And has all of this not only just getting the inspiration from people around you, like ATK and what he's doing, but also just seeing how a lot of artists here from the Discord are moving, has that changed your view on the industry? Because if I'm not wrong, your job pre-COVID was in events. So
yeah, I always, when I first got into music, I came in listening to, Chance and listening to Kenny Ramble all the time. So for me, like, independence was the way I wanted it to be at first. Then as the year went on and I ran into like my own personal financial issues, I was like, man, I would really like to get signed. That'd be nice. Now my expectations and what I want from music are different. I no longer really look at music as my financial escape. Like, I don't see it as a thing that's going to save me financially. I would much rather have access to anything and any person that I want to work with to create. And within that, like, let's say I do a Bandcamp release, right? If I do a $10 Bandcamp release and 1,000 fans buy the release, to me, that's almost exactly where I would want to be musically, because my main job pays me enough that would be extra. But I just want the ability to go anywhere, perform anywhere, and work with anybody. Whereas when you first get in, you think to yourself, oh man, if I can get viral on TikTok, if I can blow up here, it's big. For me, as long as every single person who hears my song, or almost every person worth respecting that hears my song, goes, yeah, this is something special, that works for me. And so it's helped me, because a lot of my frustrations that I have with myself musically, and every artist has their own musical frustrations, doesn't really lie in, oh man, this song didn't get a lot of streams. Like, Slow Down is only at like 250, maybe 300 streams. But instead of thinking to myself, oh man, crap, that song didn't stream well, I'm over the moon with it, because that, of those 300 people, if I were to poll each one of them, they would say it's a really good song. And I've had a lot of really great feedback on it, versus I wouldn't want to put a song out that I didn't feel stood up to my standard that did stream well. Like, I think that would bother me more than Slow Down did. Actually, good point. I did a flip of Fafo by Zach Fox, and it's a good flip. I really enjoy it, but it's at 6,000 views, and I released it the same week that I released Slow Down. And a part of me was frustrated, because even though I had the views and the impact that I wanted for the flip, I was like, that I didn't do nearly enough on that to warrant that, with all the effort, like 2 producers worth of effort on Slow Down, and I can't really get that to match up. So that's sort of where my divide comes right now, is trying to stay consistent and focusing on making the best art that I can, while also not letting myself get too down about, the impact and, the streams. Cause I'm still like technically still less than a year, and we put September out in February. And so I've still got so much to go. Like I know people who've been doing this for 4 or 5 years, but it's just finding that patience and finding that focus on just making the art as good as possible.
Beautiful. Love it. I love that perspective, and also seeing what you just talked about and everything. Like, if you became like the role model or the person people went to in Bmore, in Maryland, for like how to pursue music, I would be so like secure in their perspective. Yeah, genuinely, for me, like seeing someone where it's like, I've done the hard work of life, which is finding security through either a job and everything, and now what I'm doing is taking that energy that used to be getting a paycheck, and now I'm doing sessions, and now I'm doing songs, and that's inspiring for me personally.
I mean, like it's especially with music. When you do music, it's really easy to find that balance, because musicians and artists, at least in the early phase, I find we don't want too much. I just want enough to be able to get like the Volt when it comes out, like, maybe a MIDI controller or something like that. And so for me, if my bills are paid and, the people around me are happy and there's food on the table, all I want after that is just enough money to do whatever I feel like doing. I don't aspire to a certain product or a certain thing. It's more like just having the money to have that freedom, and then learning that you can get that freedom a lot earlier than you think through like a regular job. And, if I have to work a job for the rest of my life, I won't come out of it being upset or feeling like I wasted my life, because I had this passion on the side to focus on. Like I know people who make 6 figures, but when they get home, they don't know what to do. And even when I find like I've been couch bumming it too long, or just sitting and doing nothing for too long, I can always look at my music and go, well, that's labor, that's effort, that's something that you've created and done on top of having a job. And like I try not to think about it all the time, because it's easy to get complacent with all the conditionals of how your art works, like being able to say, this is my first performance, being able to say I work and do music, because sometimes that lends itself to compromising and finding excuses for why certain things don't work out. But it doesn't hurt to every once in a while give yourself that pat on the back of like, man, I put out an album working full time. I'm doing performances, and this goes for anybody like who's doing Discord music, honestly, because a lot of people in the Discord are working and having a huge output of content for that. Like your favorite artist's job is to do music, and you're putting out more albums than them. Like it's different levels to it, but it's something that's been really fascinating to watch in both myself and other people on the server too.
Second to last question, as always, I try to keep it sort of coherent with every episode. So you already covered your ambitions, or part of your ambitions, starting that local scene. But another one, which I genuinely love asking because it shows a lot about the person, is the dream collab, whether it's producers or a feature or whatever.
My dream collab it would be Smino on the verse with Sir on the hook, produced by Monty Booker and Ali, mixed and mastered by Sloza, with a video shot by Kang and edited by Cole Bennett.
Let's go.
That's the gamut. That's what would hit for me right now. I feel.
I love that. I love that so much. No, but it's really like
the splits are gonna be crazy, but
so you're getting 0.8 of a percent.
I'll take it. But that's what I mean. Like if I had to take 2 cents on a song to get a song with Smino, I'm doing it and not even worrying about the money. Yeah, like I got what? You kidding me?
Facts. ending question. And the way I always structure these interviews is basically going over the artist's lifetime and also achievements and all that different stuff. And I end with this question because it leads to the guest, one, being able to think back of what we talked about today and also maybe what they have in their thoughts, and then express it however they want. And the question is, are you proud of how far you've come?
Oh man, I'm so proud. I've been proud since we did the Christmas album, honestly. When we did that, I told myself when I first joined the server, you know what? One of my goals this year is going to be like, I have Kenny listen to my music and have people like it. And that was the first thing that happened. And every step of the way musically has been something that's made me feel really, really proud. And yeah, a lot of that, I know a lot of Discord people are going to be listening, and I want to say thank y'all a lot, because I was on the verge of sort of just throwing what talent I had away and just not caring or giving anything to music at all, and just focusing on, like, I was going to be that dad that can sing really well to his kids at his birthdays. Like, that's what I was looking at. Every step of the way, every time I'm down, every time I start to lose that pride, the Discord doesn't let me. Like, the Discord is always there. Even if I never get to the point where I really have that appeal outside of Discord, as long as people are messing with it there, like, screw releases, I'll just drop songs in there if I have to. Like, that is now who I perform for in a lot of ways, when it comes to certain songs, and with other things I perform with the people I love in my real life. And I find that both of those now are starting to have the same level of impact and the same level of importance to me. But yeah, I'm very proud.
I love it. Final question, basically. Do you have anything to plug? Anything you want to finish off with? Floor is yours.
Yes, sir. Next week, Wednesday on Bandcamp, Friday on SoundCloud Audios. If we can't get the Bandcamp thing in time, we'll go to Friday for that too. Beal, Famo, and Bad Type. We got an album coming out. It's called You Know the Type. All Beal sample based, like real open, like, I don't want to say boom bap. It's more like it gives you like the Conductor vibes, that kind of thing. And then it's me and Famo just going back and forth, going crazy. That's going to be big. Stay tuned around Christmas, because on top of the Discord Christmas album, I'm taking I Ain't Santa, Frosty, and another secret song. We're remixing that everyone loved from that album. And we're putting them out on Spotify for full DSP releases. So those are like the two big ones. And tentatively, we would like to put out Three Kings in December. So
let's go.
Yeah, it depends on how quickly I get all my retracts done. I'm focusing on retracking this week. But if I can finish retracts this week, we can finish everything by next week. We can get it to the engineer and we can get it around Christmas. Because I'm thinking like Three Kings, We Three Kings, like the whole Christmas theme there. So those are like the three ways I'm finishing out the year, and a bunch of other stuff me and Ali got cooked up for next year.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on, fam. Genuinely, everything I'm seeing you do, couldn't be prouder. You're setting an example not only for the Discord musician, but also for the normal musician out there. And yeah, thank you for coming on, fam. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Everybody go stream Smile on Sundays right now, you heard?
And also, I'm taking the floor. First official tentative release day for Three Kings on my podcast. That big news.
There you go. And I'm going to be watching your listening party set too. I saw the post on that. I'm excited.
Let's go.